seen this before. You know what it is, don't you? It's an echo from one aircraft all by itself. Let's have a look at it on a real tube at a station. There it is, beneath the pointer. Steady as a rock. Of course, it doesn't always look as neat and simple as this, as there are often all sorts of untidy, stray noises about, which make the tube pattern look an awful mess, like this. But your echo is there, all the time. That one beneath the pointer at 30 miles. And it's steady, doesn't change its size at all. You ought to be able to recognize this echo now, and remember, it always means one single craft. You may get two of these steady echoes at different places on the tube. That's to say, at two different ranges. It's quite simple. Twice one at two separate crafts. But what do you make of this? Ever seen an echo doing this before? Now watch it. It's swinging gracefully up and down, keeping almost in perfect rhythm. See? We call it a beating echo. It's this sort of echo we get from two craft in formation. And it does this swing high, swing low act because the two craft can't possibly keep perfect formation. In fact, they're always doing this sort of thing. Once again, we'd better see what it really does look like on the station tube. Here it is, just beneath the white pointer, swinging up and down. Try and forget all about the jitters. But just a minute. Supposing there are two separate craft, both at the same range from the receiver, but on different thetas. Then both echoes will happen at the same place on the tube. Now we will get a swinging echo just like the other one. That's rather confusing, isn't it? How do we know if we've got a formation of two, or just two separate ones at the same range? Well, the best way to tell is by DFing rather slowly. If your swinging echo goes right down to nothing as you DF, swinging all the time, like this, it's a formation. But if the swinging stops as you DF, like this, so you're left with a steady echo, like this, it simply means that you've got two separate craft at the same range, but on different thetas, and you've DF'd one of them out. You can do just the same thing at another gonio setting, and DF the other one out. Now look at this fellow, jigging up and down in this queer dancing way. This is the kind of echo you generally get from three craft flying in fairly close formation. Or 4, 5, and even 6, sometimes. Let's look at the real thing on the station. There it is, the one under the pointer. Pretty much the same if you forget all about the jittery bumps and things. This echoes from 3 battles, and this one here from 5 hurricanes. Watch how this echo is jigging unsteadily, not swinging gracefully like the one from 2 crafts did. Now there's an important thing about this jigging echo. Watch it. Do you see that in spite of the jigging, it's a single echo all the time? There's only one peak to it. You'll see why this is important in a minute. Remember, this echo generally comes from 3, 4, 5, and perhaps 6 craft in close formation. But when we get to bigger formations, say 9 or more, we begin to get echoes that look rather different from the ones we've just seen. Look at the bottom of this echo. Do you see how it is split up into separate peaks, bobbing up and down on their own? You hardly ever get these little separate peaks, like a bunch of bananas, with less than about 6 craft in close formation. If you see them on an echo, you can be pretty certain you've got a fairly large formation, 9 or more. Or sometimes you may get them running up and down the sides of the echo, like this. It's just the same. And there's another way of telling these echoes from larger formations. They are either wider, like this, or else deeper, like this. Suppose we've got a biggish formation flying like this, or like this. You can see that the nearest plane is at a much closer range than the furthest one. So our echo will be spread out across the time base. It will be much wider than the echo you get from a small formation. And here we are on the station tube. Look at this wide echo from 24 Blenheims. Compare it with this narrow one from 3. Or suppose our big formation is flying like this, or like this. Then, though the planes are all pretty much at the same range, our echo will be much deeper than from a small formation, because there are so many more craft to reflect the echo. Back on the station tube, we get this from 20 Blenheims at 30 miles, instead of this from 3 Blenheims, also at 30 miles. It still jigs up and down, but how much farther down? And, although it's thin, it's still got the little separate peaks of its own. Now, with a wide echo, like this, you can actually count the little peaks. And as a rough rule, each separate peak means about 3 craft. But with a narrow, deep echo, like this, you can't count the peaks. So you've only got the depth to go on. Now let's go over all this again. Study this very carefully now. A single, steady echo, like this, means 1 craft. An echo swinging up and down like this usually means 2 craft. But there's just one thing to remember here, which we've not yet said anything about. You know that a good many stations have permanent echoes, given by hills, or even big buildings, like this one. Well, these echoes naturally stay put, always. But if you're unlucky enough to get a single craft at the same range as your wretched hill, or gasworks, then the 2 echoes will come together and start swinging, just like 2 craft. Still, if you know your own permanent echoes by heart, this shouldn't worry you. An echo jigging up and down like this, but with only 1 peak to it, means a small number of craft flying in fairly close formation. An echo like this, wider, or like this, deeper, and with little peaks of its own, like this, usually means a bigger formation. All quite clear? Fine. But don't be afraid of reporting a wrong number, especially at long range. You may have to alter your report when the formation gets nearer. If in doubt at all, better to report too many rather than too few.